would like to know what you describe identity to be. Carrie or Courtney, would you like to, or Della, or Aaron, or Chad, any of you, would you like to offer?
A specific identity.
Just that word, what does it mean to you?
A specific role that's taking place. Yeah, it can mean many things, but what's coming out my mouth is it's a specific role that can taking place in society, but also within oneself. Maybe it's that meeting place.
Very good.
Yeah, you like that? Okay.
Sometimes it is that identity of what we call ourselves, and it's also the identity. We can also talk about the how do we identify with things, but it's that identity within ourselves. Courtney, would you like to offer anything to this? Do you have a different view of it, or are you just happy to listen? Okay, I get that. Well, anyway, so when we start to have this identity of who we are, like, when I call myself a soul nurturer, or no, let's do a spiritual thought leader. What does that do for you to define? How do you already think of me? Anyone can say. What does a spiritual thought leader, what does that put up in your mind first thing? Well,
if no one else is answering, I'll say something. I didn't want really anyone talking.
Well, there's only really two of you, so.
Unfortunately, we lost about 6 people when that chaos happened. So.
Yeah. We had about 8 vital people.
Well, they got scared. Yeah, I get it. Well, still, all right. So, okay, Carrie, why don't you say what you think a spiritual thought leader is, just for the exercise?
Well, just what comes to me as is this, looking at you, it's like that, a far-reaching. I see roots of trees, but I also see just like these far rays coming out, reaching out into the beyond, and then what was it called? Spiritual soul
leader. Thought leader, yeah.
Transcending thoughts into more than the mind, like allowing them to transcend one's paradigm, belief, thoughts, and systems of belief that have been conditioned.
My gosh, my dear, you do come up with a wonderful thing. You are an artist, a science. You have so many talents in you. Yes, okay. But all right, I personally do not identify with anything. I'm a mom. Suppose I can call myself a mom. I can call myself a musician. I can call myself a spiritual thought leader. I can call myself, I don't know. The dog walker. I could call myself the gardener, the master gardener. I can call myself the bookworm. But when I put myself in a category, it can limit me. If I'm calling myself the mom, it limits me. For instance, it can put pressure on me, first of all. Oh my gosh, I got to be the perfect mom. Oh my gosh, I got to be I got to make sure I'm socializing with all the other moms. We got to have playtime. We got to do this. We got to do that. I've got to make all the meals. Everything has to be this way. Oh, make sure that they all are well adjusted. Oh my gosh. And you go on this whole thing of all the expectations of what, when we identify, we put expectations. And those can put us in a certain category. If I say I'm a spiritual thought leader, well, does that mean I can also be this, or can I also be that? Many times when we identify and we put these labels on ourselves, we actually limit ourselves. Now, I would love to hear anyone out there, to say a contra, that they don't believe that, or ask a question, or agree with it and say why. One of those three would be fantastic. We're going to have a lot of chirping birds. All right. So, Carrie, how does that
Yeah.
make you feel when I say that?
I mean, it's basically how I feel from my own person, from my own being feels that way. People say they try and put things on me, and immediately it pushes me to see all the other things that aren't that. So yeah, I don't fit in any kind of label personally, but I think some people, they just use that as their framework because of their mind has safety. But I personally am the opposite. I don't like having any label. So
You don't like any label. And do you know why you don't like a label? Or it just doesn't feel good?
because I don't believe it. I believe in the infinite. I don't believe anything I don't believe I'm if you want to call it a shapeshifter, but I don't believe any kind of set solid thing, except if it just happens to come into that shape. Probably an
Okay.
orchestration of everything. Yeah, but I just don't. It's more like if I come into a identity or a shape or a set thing, it's because it almost like maybe it's divinely orchestrated. It's supposed to be at that point in time.
That's good. That's very interesting. And it is an infinite thing. When we define ourselves, that's very interesting. And I don't say, I agree in so many ways that when we define ourselves, when I put those perimeters on me, I load myself with a ton of expectation of what that should be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy. And when we do that, it limits our capability in other areas, because all of a sudden I am a mom. That's it. That's where I am. And sometimes we wear wear a couple hats, but we are capable of so much more. I do have children and I am a mother to them. I also own a business. And so I am an entrepreneur in some sense, and I teach people and I help people connect to the divine. All right, that's all right. But is that all I am? I'm also someone who loves plants and gardens and things like that. I'm also a person who loves to read. I'm also a person who loves to travel the world and explore every facet of it. I don't put myself in any, believe it or not, I really don't put myself in any definite category. I love my kids, don't get me wrong. I love helping people to attach to the divine. But when you do that, all of a sudden, the responsibility detaches you from connecting to who you really are inside.
I guess people choose to do that because then they can function. They find that it enables them to function in the world, But I don't really see myself as someone of the world. I don't want to be. But it does play with my mind a bit. But I agree with you. When I have a label, I put so much pressure on myself to do something by these set of rules, which aren't necessarily aligned to me. And that's why I choose not to,
Interesting. All right. And I would love to hear someone who's counter this. Is anybody out there? And since there's so few, guys, you can get on. I know Carrie loves that. I don't know, but I help Carrie.
What I find interesting, this is Erin, what I find interesting about what you guys are saying is that, like, what if you want to change your mind? Like, what if you gave yourself a category and all of a sudden you're not that anymore? Or what if that category was taken away from you? I don't mean something as sad as not being, obviously we'd always be a mom,
Right,
right?
right,
If
right.
God forbid something happened. But, you know, like I used to be a TV producer, but up until me doing this new project, like I couldn't say that I currently was. And so, you know, you wrestle with that. Like, if you're not currently writing, are you a writer? Like, so sometimes I think the labels just kind of trap you.
They do. They do. And when you, a lot of times that trap is false. The labels are false because we are not what they do. Help us. For some people, like Carrie said, they give us a structure. It's very easy to say, okay, I'm a teacher. Well, what does a teacher do? This is what I do. Oh my gosh, that's so easy. I can follow this plan and do it. But what about all the other facets? And actually inside, we are infinite. We are infinite. And when we don't put the labels on it, we start to see that we are just an extension, an incredible extension of something bigger than ourselves.
That's the key, isn't it? Yeah.
It is the key.
But I think that we're not living in a world like that necessarily. And I think there's a separation between the outer identity and the inner identity. But if we're coming into time now with this quarantine of understanding, you know, we're stuck inside. So our identity is being shifted as we speak. Because
Yes.
we can't be in the world as much. So it's very interesting conversation to have right now too, isn't it?
It is. Okay, the 133. Who's 133? Would you like to say something?
Is that 1337?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Anna.
Hi, Anna.
I do not contradict. I find labels, they put you in a box, and I think it's almost easier, like whenever you're in a conversation with people and they're like, well, what do you do? And you're automatically giving them these different boxes that you're putting yourself into, because it's just kind of a general question, and it's a very beginner question, and it's easy to kind of put yourself there, but there's so many layers to what do you do?
What do you do? And who am I? Have you guys
Yeah.
done this incredible? One time I was speaking in California one time, and I went to I wanted some relaxation because I had been speaking in a bunch of places and I was very, very tired. So I looked up the Chopra Center. I wanted to visit. I was really hoping I would get to see Deepak Chopra, but no, he wasn't there. But I did partake in a meditation, and I walked the grounds and I just enjoyed the day. But the meditation I really, really liked, because when we sat in that room, the instructor, some young guy, very, very knowledgeable, very cool. He said, okay, ask yourself, who am I? And so that was kind of our mantra. Who am I? Who am I? And everything that came and everything that went and everything that came and everything that went. And soon you were down to, well, who am I really? And when you really, I don't know if anybody's done any exercise kind of like that, but when you do, you go, and you can try that at home. You can try that meditation. When you get down to it and you let those all fall away, that's where you find you. That's where you find I don't know if we have any, well, we have Chad, the person, I was going to say the girl, the person in there that is the carefree, the person that is talented the person that sees things for what they are and without any bias, just it is. It's the person, it's our soul. It's our incredible soul. And what some people call our higher self. But that is the soul. And all of a sudden you feel like you can conquer mountains. You feel expansive and you feel free. It's a really cool exercise to feel. But there is one caveat we haven't talked about, and I thought we'd bring it up, and I want to see what about, and it's a good way to start too, what about how many defining other things? If we're not defining ourselves, what about defining other things? I once had I once interviewed a psychologist. She was actually president of Board of Psychology up in Toronto. And she said to me, you name it, you tame it. Well, that's great for a disease, but do we have to define everything? If we define ourselves and it puts us in a box, what does it do when we define something? Like a lamp, or all of a sudden, when I say a lamp, what do you think of?
An object that puts out
Picture
light.
of a lamp.
Yeah, all of a sudden, that's exactly what that does. That's the only thing that does. It's a lamp, it puts out light, and that's what I expect from it, and that's what it will do. It's when I became a gardener, I loved to garden, and I actually started gardening because I wasn't doing my career anymore. I had 3 boys, and I was going stir crazy. So I started gardening in my backyard, and I remember going to the greenhouse, and it was like stepping into a candy store. Oh my God, all the textures and the colors and the vibrancy. And I didn't know what the plants were. And I was looking for perennials at that time. And I'm just looking at all the incredible flowers, and I'm putting together different textures, and it was like putting together a painting, and it was so much fun. I would sit in the middle of the plant store and I would pull all these plants together and put together my own little garden. But I didn't know I didn't know that was salvia, and that needs sun, and that needs this, and that is that, and that's what I can expect from that. And I didn't know, and then that was lamb's ear, and that the texture of that, and that needs so much sun, and that needs that kind of, I didn't know that. But then when I started to learn all the names and the function and the expectation of each plant, it was like the magic got boring. The vibrancy was gone. The world was filled instead with, I expect this to perform this way. And this is the label it has. I've recently started to go back and start to just play and try to put the knowledge I have, which is useful at times, but I've kind of let it go so that I can get the vibrancy and the textures of the plants back. And when I go into the woods, I do not identify every damn tree I see. Instead, I feel the roughness of the bark and the softness of the leaves. And I feel its strength and its power. And I don't care if it's an oak tree, I don't care if it's a pine tree, I don't care if it's a maple tree. I feel it as it is, at this massive, beautiful, strong being. And it comes alive again. Are there any comments on this? except that I might be a tree hugger. Yeah? No one has any comments on this?
Well,
You
I
got
just
me thinking.
I think that, I think it reminds me of in Rudolf Steiner in Anthroposophy. They don't teach children how to read or write till they're 7, you know, so that they can grow all that wonder
Imagination.
and mystery. And it's often true. I like to really feel something before the label comes, and then when the label does come, it can be in a powerful way, because it's not, you know, it can be of purpose. But
Yes.
you know, so I guess everything has its purpose. It's just the order or how you do it, maybe.
It's what we put our emphasis on. Yes. You tapped right onto it. When I see like salvia, which is a purple flower plant, okay? And it's great in the sun. It's great because if you cut it back in the middle of the year, it gets more flowers. It's beautiful and it's purple and it fills out beautifully, okay? So I know all that. But if I'm playing and I'm just in wonder of the beautiful green, green, green against the purple, 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 and the spiky leaves next to the ferny plant, and just play with the textures. But then when it comes to planting, I'll say, okay, that needs to be in the sun. But I don't allow it to rule. And I check myself, and I don't allow it to be in so many categories. Then I allow it to perform. I can put that plant in partial sun and it will do beautifully. Although it says full sun, I can put that in partial sun. I've done it and it works beautifully. But if I kept to all my rules and regulations, I'd never experiment. I'd never see the vitality of it. Do you see? We're so quick to label things, to define them, just like we do ourselves, and to put that expectation on it. But when you don't, that's when you start to see the vibrancy of life. That's when you start to see some of the magic of life, because you'll go the extra step to explore it, to find out something new. I think in society and this time that we're home, everything is an illusion. The life that we had was such an illusion. Nobody was secure. Nobody had, the absolute job. Nobody had, some of the friends were even illusion. We haven't even heard from some of our friends, but the ones we have heard are the precious ones who would be there forever. We haven't really, we now have the chance to keep our minds in such an open way so that when we see those good friends, we don't define them as good friends, but that are awesome people that have entered our lives and are willing to be a part of our lives in such an incredible way. And isn't that more fun than just saying, that's my good friend? Aren't you going to give 3 times more knowing that this person just loves to be with you and wants to be with you even in the rough times? Not even putting the word friend on it, but just knowing that somebody cares about you that much. Do you hear the vitality in that versus me putting them in the friend category? What I'm trying to get you to do is not to define things so quickly, to start to see the vastness of all the matter we have around us, the vastness of the beauty we have around us. Before you know it, you'll start to hear the trees sway. You'll start to see interesting birds that you never saw before. You'll start to open your eyes to things that you have never seen. Why is this important? Because it widens your world. And the more you widen your world and you open up to your own undefinedness, then you start opening your eyes to opportunities that you never thought were possible before. You'll start to not define so quickly what has to be, and you'll open your eyes to what could be. And everything starts to fall into place. You'll find that you're much more adventuresome, and you're much more able to accept when something comes into your life and it's almost like a gift, and it keeps presenting itself, and you keep thinking, but that's not who I am. That's not who I am. But when you take it, it leads a wonderful road that you never could have imagined, accomplishes everything you ever thought it ever could. You know, that's what happened with my radio show. I wasn't a radio show host, especially on that station. And yet it kept presenting itself and presenting itself and presenting itself for almost 6 months before I said yes. And it's turned out to be, my gosh, it's turned out to be a podcast. It's turned out to be on Law of Attraction now. Now it's all over, it's getting all over the place. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? Okay, any comments? Anybody have a story of their own? I've talked enough. This is supposed to be a discussion. Does no one have a story like that?
I'm sure I do have lots of stories like that, and I can't think of any right now.
You know what's interesting is when, you know, like when you're reading the flower rules, but what about when you haven't formed your own opinion yet and somebody tells you their opinion of that person or that, not the movie, like, but, you know, I mean, as a mom, I try not to do that. And my mom did it all the time. And so she was one of those people that I was like, oh, great. Now I already know what my mom thinks. Like, you know, and then you're kind of like, well, do I form my own opinion? Or like to the point where yours is an inanimate object, like shade, full shade, sun, partial. But like, you know, how about when it comes to, well, maybe I would have liked to live in that area, or maybe I would have voted for that political candidate. Or maybe Barbara Streisand is a good singer.
She is, I think.
Maybe
but yeah,
Jane
my mom
Fonda
didn't
was
like her
trying
either.
to make a different kind of point in the war. Like, I don't know. It's so I
yeah.
come up with these statements where then if you honestly went against them, you silently could, you know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't know, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there was no room in trying to figure out what you thought of it yourself, because it was already determined and told what it was, period.
Well,
So.
I know. And my mom, believe it or not, my mom was, my mom was the same way. My mom was, she did the same exact thing. So did my dad. And they had the world figured out. This is how it was. I love to read the living section of the whole newspaper. Oh my gosh, that doesn't tell you anything about what's going on in this world. That doesn't, you know, I heard the whole riot act because I wanted to read a different section of the newspaper. And that was not enough. I was living in a fanciful land, whatever that was. It was only the living section. So
you're like, it's just the purple section of USA Today. Don't freak out.
Don't freak out. I like to hear the comments and I like the comics. So leave me alone, you know. But so I do get what you're talking about. And I think our world is built on expectation. Our world is built on efficiency. We have built our society to be, well, you only spend this much time in a line at the drive-thru. You only spend, we have expectations about what we're going to receive. When I order this, this is what I'm going to get. Even when we order from Amazon, this is exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get it in so many days. We're like a fast food society. We turn on the computer, it's going to take this long for it to click on and get on Wi-Fi. Oh my God, the Wi-Fi doesn't work. You think the whole world ended. My efficiency is gone. Because we expect everything to be where we define it. And that's part of how we were brought up. So how do you buck this? We buck it. It takes the will, the gift of the Spirit. We have to just say, you know, it's funny. I think because I'm used to doing it now, people enjoy, and they do enjoy, you just saying something like, what would I say with the living check? I'd say, but Dad, I did say this, but Dad, how am I going to see who's singing where? And how am I going to get the apple pie recipe if I'm not looking at the living section? And he would just get so exasperated and leave. Oh, but my mother would laugh. See, I think even in this world, when you're out and about and people are trying to push their expectancy on you, you don't have to succumb to that. And what gives you the strength is by doing something like that meditation I learned over at the Chopra. Who am I? Who am I? And breaking it down into who I truly am. And when you experience that, you kind of think, well, why in the hell do I want to limit myself? And they may be that way. Well, all society might be that way. But I don't have to be that way. And it doesn't make me antisocial. If anything, I think people, what did someone say to me? Oh, I had a funny way to state the obvious that wasn't seen. Now, isn't that interesting? That's defining me. But I did think it was an interesting comment. And my friends always, they put me in the category of a literalist, which I'm not. But I do see a different side, and I don't have that expectancy. So I always point out other things that something can be other than what they say. And they think I'm taking it very literally. Isn't that funny? When really they are. But we're still friends and they have a good time, you know? And me, I have a good time being the way I am. You don't have to succumb to what? The commonality of living. That's the mundaneness. And so when you enter in, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope, folks. You start slipping on, you start not seeing the world in your own vitality with non-definition. And you start not seeing yourself as this beautiful, expansive being that is here just to live and experience. You start all of a sudden starting to slip down into, oh, this is what they expect of me. Oh yeah, I got to do this. Oh yeah. And then before you know it, you start getting up in the morning and it's heavy. The energy's heavy. Even the air seems to be heavy when you breathe it in. There's a heaviness that all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I've got to perform this well for this. Oh my gosh. Oh, I've got to take the kids to 3 different sports games and I've got to socialize with all those parents at every single thing because that's what I'm supposed to do as a mom. Oh, that's so heavy. That just makes me want to curl up in my sofa and hide. That's not magical. I'm supposed to. I have to. This is where I have to be. Now, it doesn't mean we just throw up our hands and we never do anything. We still pay our bills. We still go to our job. But we're not defined by it. Do you see the difference? And my gosh, when you go to your job and you're not defined as the assistant or the graphic artist, oh my gosh, I'm not defined as a graphic artist. And you don't define yourself as only this graphic artist, all of a sudden, your job takes on a different form. You start creating in such an incredible rate in different ways. You just will, because you're not limited. Do you see? It's so much more fun. So much more fun. It's a concept I would love you to play with. I don't know why. I think identity started for survival reasons. Meaning when colonies formed or groups of people formed for our own survival, everybody had a certain role. And my gosh, they didn't only define you. Your last name became the shoe cobbler, or the horse, the metal worker, or whatever they would call you. And your whole last name would be that. And everybody who grew up had to be that horseshoe metal person or the shoe cobbler, because that was their name. That's what their dad did. That's what they would do. Isn't that horrid? I guess it offers security, but where's the magic? Where's living? Where is the happiness and the everyday joy and the everyday feeling alive? Does anybody disagree with this? Does anybody value the security more? I'd love to hear. Okay. How about, does anybody have any questions? What I'm bringing up is pretty darn controversial, folks. You don't see most of America living this way. People who really lived this way were people like the guy who did Apple. Oh God, what's his name? I can't believe I forgot his name. What's his name?
Steve Jobs.
Yes, thank you, Steve Jobs. And who else? Lots of people like this. Believe it or not, Mother Teresa, believe it or not, she wasn't always a nun, and she was very adventuresome. And even when she became a nun, she didn't stay in the little convent and was a good little girl. No, she went right where she knew she was supposed to be, where she wanted to be. And then she helped to raise funds fanatically for that, because she didn't see limitation. You know, there are people who move the mountains in this world. They really are not stuck in definition and defining themselves or other things. That's what opens up your imagination. Do you see? It's the expectation of the definition that keeps us rooted in mundaneness. Truly. Now I know, Chad, you have to be disagreeing with me on one level or another. So you are free to open up the door if you like.
I disagree with you.
Do you?
No.
Oh.
No, I always teach about the everything is perception, and the roles and the identities that we take on are constructs that make us feel safe. Because at the end of the day, we can actually predict who we are, then we don't have to think anymore. We don't have to risk. We don't have to step out into the unknown. If we define ourselves by an identity, there's the perception that we've eliminated risk in that moment, because now we know who we are, what to do. We just follow the steps. We just go through the motions. We just go through the routines. We're no longer at the source of having to create anything. Actually, it's a way of consuming our own identity.
Habit.
You know,
Get to a habitual, mundane, yucky. Yes.
Yeah, we end up becoming consumers of the identity versus actually living fully into life.
Yes. Oh, I love it. And this is the thing. The people who define themselves so strongly and felt that security and felt that, I had people who were telling me they were in jobs they hated, but that's who they were. That's what they were always going to do. And that company owed them. And now guess what? They're not working for that company. They are not that position anymore. And the security is gone. Now, you tell me, is what I'm saying an illusion, or is what they were living an illusion? It's interesting, isn't it? and what I'm saying, and also chat at it. I think it's time for us to start asking. And it's also time for us to start asking ourselves, who am I? And break it down like peeling an onion. I'm a mom. Well, I'm not just a mom. I'm a spiritual thought leader. I'm not just a spiritual thought leader. I'm a radio show host. I'm not just a radio show host. I'm a gardener. I'm not just a gardener. I'm a healer. I'm not just a healer. What am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And let it go deeper and allow it to get quiet. And all of a sudden it'll open up like a flower. And just start to open our eyes. Don't be so quick to judge the definition. Even when I meet other people, if I went up to someone and they had a punk haircut and tattoos all over and rings everywhere, you know, half the time I don't even see it. Although I do notice where they're pierced, because to me that hurts. So I always think, ooh, ow. Because I don't like pain. But I do see in their eyes. And I look at the beauty within them. And I see the expression wanting to come out. And I see the creativity in them that's just wanting to break free of all parameters. I see this in them. And you know, it actually makes me love them for who they are. Do you see? It changes life. And it's that change in life that opens the doors to new opportunities and a new way of living. All right? Well, that was a heavy concept teaching. Oh, you're welcome. Go to bed, honey. She's in London, guys. That's like 6 hours ahead. She must be pooped. And look, she stayed up for this. But for those who are on, I don't see who's on or anything. I'm so sorry. I would love for you to try this. And usually this group is a little more on the discussion side. We had a really weird start and lost a lot of people, and I understand. So it turned out to be more of a teaching, but I would and this was a hard concept too, but the Green Terra is all about you sharing too, all right? So if you come on next week, we'll have a new topic, but this week, start to not define so fast. See what happens. It's a fun game. Treat it as a game and have fun doing it and watch your world start to change. And next week when we talk, it'll be more of a sharing and a discussion. You still learn, but you learn from many different sources, not just little old me. All right? But if you want to learn more about what I do and things, you know, you're on the Green Terra group, you've gone to the site, look through the website a little bit more, or feel free to ask me. We offer a lot of things. And I've got a book coming out called Hello Soul. So yes, I am about connecting to the soul and connecting to the divine. So if you need anything else from me, feel free to contact me, okay? You can do that right on that Soul Manifesto website. And have fun this week. Start entering into the magic of life and leave behind the mundane. Leave it for other people. Okay, I love you all. Does anybody have anything parting they want to say?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, love you all.
Thank you very much.
Love
You
you
are
too.
so
Bye.
welcome, Courtney. I hope you come on next week. Love having you.
I will be on. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right, namaste, everyone. Love you. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Love you too.